What do I do? Just hold it.
Hello. Welcome to Legal Minutes. We are live with Jeffrey Deskovic, and It Could Happen to You, Servants of Justice 2020 and 2021 Awards. He was just on. He will come back on soon. It is an incredible night with Jeffrey Deskovic, and you could write in and comment. This is a man who was in jail from 17 for 16 years. And when he came out for a crime he never committed, and his DNA would have exonerated him, but everyone failed him, his lawyer, the courts, the famous Judge Pirro and Judge Sotomayor. Here he is now at the ITCHY Awards. Hello, Jeffrey. How are you?
I just want to how can I know what I'm feeling if I can't see it?
I can't.
There's a lot going on there.
I'm trying to figure out how to.
Okay, hold on, guys. He's trying to get it all straightened out. It's a lot of action over there. Hold on. Hold on. So anyway, he spent 16 years in jail with adults. He was only 17 when he went for a crime he never committed, and his DNA exonerated him through the Innocence Project because he kept fighting. So in the end, his very DNA exonerated him, but it could have exonerated him 16 years before. He could have grown up normal, had a family, and enjoyed his life, but instead he was in jail. And while he was in jail, because of incompetence and corruption and politics, the real killer was out, and he wound up killing another woman. So another woman had to die. So basically, this is the story of Jeffrey Deskovic. And here we go. He's back on. Hello. Hi, guys. How's it doing? How's it going there? You are live.
What is she's talking to the people, but I can barely hear.
Jeffrey, you're live. It's okay. We have patience. We know how these things work. Go ahead. Take your time. Get situated. Get situated.
Thank you, Bennett Gershman, for showing up at the last minute. So, thank you, everyone, for attending the 8th annual It Could Happen to You Public and Private Sector Servant of Justice Awards dinner. And we don't have a mic here tonight, but that's okay. We can all yell. It's been a long year, and we missed our banquet last year, and the country's been shut down, but nothing stopped ITCHY from shutting down. And I want to let you know that, we became very accustomed to social media over the course of the past year. We held a New York summit this past January. March. We held a Pennsylvania summit in January with our Pennsylvania chapter, and an October summit with our California chapter. And over the course of those 3 summits, we navigated conversation with over 600 people. So this is the way we build in the future, I think, and we have a very ambitious agenda to come in the future. Here in New York, we've worked on the Commission on Prosecutorial Conduct. And I want to tell you that today, after the bill passed the Senate 2 weeks ago, and after the bill passed the Assembly in February, today and yesterday, we were in discussions with Governor Cuomo's office about him appearing for this event tonight to sign the bill establishing the New York State Commission on Prosecutorial Conduct. So let's hear it for them. So what that means is that the governor is signing the bill next week, before next Friday, which is the deadline, and the commission will be a reality. And we're honoring tonight some very courageous and ambitious people. My wife is talking to me. My wife can't hear, so she's saying louder. So tonight, we are honoring our public sector's servant of justice, Senator Bailey and Assemblyman Dan Fort. We are honoring our private sector servants of justice, Tom Hoffman and Oscar Michelin. Take a minute during dinner to read about all they've done to really bring freedom to many, many men, and who have been victims of prosecutorial misconduct. And Tom and Oscar, you only get a few minutes to talk about prosecutorial misconduct, although you can talk for ages. We're also honoring Vocal New York because Vocal is probably one of the most organized grassroots organizations in the entire New York City region. And I think really without Vocal and the exonerees that Jeff's going to introduce very shortly, for a second, Jeff, without them, there would be no commission bill in New York State and no discovery reform as well. And we're also honoring two ministers of justice for our annual Ken Thompson Minister of Justice Award. We're making up for last year, and the 2020 Ken Thompson Minister of Justice Award is being awarded to New York Erie County District Attorney John Flynn, and John will and the 2021 Ken Thompson Minister of Justice Award is being awarded to Charles Linehan. And Charles is a former Manhattan County prosecutor who prosecuted white-collar crimes successfully, and who I'm told by Tom Hoffman had a speckling clean record in regards to prosecutorial misconduct. And Charles is now involved in freeing wrongfully convicted men and women. And you'll hear from them all later. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Jeffrey Deskovic briefly to introduce the exonerees here who will help walk the halls for reform. Jeffrey Deskovic.
So most of you are no strangers in this room to me. You're my colleagues, you're my friends, you're my fellow advocates. But yet our coalition is growing, and the number of people coming to our awards banquet continues to grow, and we continue to see new faces. So I have to speak as if nobody knows me, but I'll be brief, as Bill mentioned. So my name's Jeff Deskovic, and I'm an exoneree. I served 16 years in prison for a murder and rape, which I did not commit. DNA exonerated me. Right here in this very city, a few short blocks over White Plains, the courthouse over there in Westchester County, and DNA exonerated me. So I'm an attorney now. I'm with the Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation for Justice. And our mission is to free the wrongfully convicted and to pursue policy changes aimed at preventing that from happening in the first place. And we have been able to free 11 wrongfully convicted people. Able to help pass 3 laws in collaboration with It Could Happen to You. We're able to pass an additional 4 laws, discovery reform, the commission. So in your program, there's an ad referencing the foundation. And since last event, a couple years ago, super briefly, the foundation has been able to free Mark Douglas here in Westchester in collaboration with the Hale Monaco firm. Mark did 14 years on a burglary and assault case, which he did not commit. In collaboration with Oscar Michelin and Karen Nieworth and attorneys prior to that, we were able to help free Andrew Krivak, who was framed by the same polygraph. Andy is home on bail pending retrial. Speaking of the need of the Commission on Prosecutor Conduct, despite a mountain of evidence pointing to an alternative suspect with rapist, despite his co-defendant being compensated and listed in the National Registry of Exonerations. More on him, a little bit more on him in a second. Stuart Kovacs was released on compassionate release after 24 years. Ronaldo Clark, home after 28, in collaboration with attorney Kathleen Randley. Amir Zeta, home after 38 years, and working with the Conviction Review Unit here in Westchester, in collaboration with attorneys Dennis Kelly and Bob Kerrigan, we were able to help secure DNA testing for our client, Carolyn Orvis. Michael DeLoe, a petition for him in Pennsylvania was submitted to the Conviction Integrity Unit in Washington County Conviction Integrity Unit. I'd like to super briefly mention some of the foundation personnel, then I'll get to the exonerees. Bill Hughes, longtime Deskovic Foundation volunteer. At times, he's been the acting executive director, and he's now transitioned to a board member. So I just want to briefly announce Bill Hughes is here. Bill, can you wave something? And smoking somewhere around here, we have a pair of interns for the foundation. They can briefly stand for a second. Yeah, right here. Come on, ladies. Okay. But the purpose of all this advocacy work and gathering tonight in this fundraising event to raise money, of course, is to prevent wrongful conviction. And what better way to illustrate that than to see the exonerees in person? This is why those of us in the exoneration field work to free people. This is why we do the policy work. And so, fighting for justice, we have the first person the foundation freed is with us here tonight after 25 years. Divine Whitfield doing double duty, so please stand, don't move the camera. Try not to. Lorenzo Johnson, having done 22 years foundation client, is here. Still fighting for justice, Frank Vetro, will you stand for a brief second? Frank. The person who was framed by the same polygraphist as me will be the person I lead off. I'd like to recognize a man who went to trial 3 times, insisting on his innocence no matter what. Anthony DePippo is with us. 20 years. A man who did 29 years. You heard that. 29 years David McCallum is here. Please stand, David. A man who did 20 years, not far from here in the Bronx. Hugh Burton is here with us tonight. A man who did 25 years prior to exoneration, Pablo Fernandez. Please stand. Traveling with us traveling here from Pittsburgh in order to support It Can Happen to You, a member of the Pennsylvania It Can Happen to You, a man who did 20 years prior to DNA exoneration. Drew Whitley is here. A New Yorker wrongfully convicted in Pennsylvania, and not simply wrongfully convicted, but sentenced to death at that. Roderick Johnson is here. Please stand, Roderick. Traveling to be with us from New Jersey, having done 25 years. Sean Washington is here. Please stand. Brother, I apologize. I don't have your years memorized. I do want to recognize you nonetheless. Robert Majors is here with us tonight. Okay, so with that, I'm going to end. I do want to reference that elsewhere in the program, the reentry tool, Recharge Beyond the Bars reentry game, is in our program. Its creator, Leslie Robinson, is here. So, Leslie, and I do want to recognize, lastly, our friends and allies from Americans for Legal Reform. Their president, Gary Jacobs, is here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Anybody think we need a commission on prosecutorial misconduct? Yeah. So we're going to begin the dinner, which is going to be laid out in the back very, very shortly. And in that regard, I would like to, we'll be calling upon tables one by one, but if you want to do the, okay. You want to do the,
yeah. All right, so I guess you'll be hearing from me one more time before intermission.
Okay, I hear from all the time. So.
If you know Bill and I, we exchange barbs all the time, and so I often tease Bill, and that's what makes our relationship work. I often tell Bill, I don't know why you're talking about all these false accusations and wrongful convictions. Bill, you did a night in jail, and that was it.
One day is too much for him.
But while we enjoy and have fun and laugh, and we should enjoy the rest of the night, and we should, sturdy ourselves, gird ourselves for the fight ahead. I do want to share something somber for a brief second. We're going to do a minute of silence. So one of the members of our It Can Happen to You Pennsylvania team, Corey Walker, the co-defendant of Lorenzo Johnson, who did 25 years prior to being freed. He was forced into a nolo contender plea, which basically means he didn't want to keep fighting. The Attorney General, would not concede, despite the only witness against both men having been an alternative suspect that had not been disclosed, despite the witness who supplied the motive having a family relationship with the lead detective's mother. I think that should have been disclosed. and 200 pages of trading material had not been turned over. So rather than at least conceding that he was owed a new trial at minimum, they instead continued to fight, and it would have cost him another 2 to 3 years to continue fighting. And so he opted to simply get his freedom, albeit not exoneration. So he was forced into the plea. He walked the earth for 45 years. 25 of them were spent lawfully incarcerated. And it can happen to you, Pennsylvania member. Lori Walker passed away after 2 years of freedom a couple of days ago. So I would ask us to just briefly take a 60-second moment of silence in remembering him. And if you didn't know him personally, just the idea, the facts that I've shared with you should be enough to have some empathy for him. So we'll take a 60-second of moment of silence. Thank you very much.
So relax, enjoy. They're going to be calling the tables one by one shortly, beginning with the back. We'll begin with District Attorney Flynn, because I understand he has his secretary. So I'm not going to take the blame, that he gets a very good appetite. So let's go and begin with that. I also want to introduce somebody else here, who I personally, some board members, have become very, very close to. And that's Dylan Wigley, who was released about a month ago after serving almost 5 years. And if you want to talk to Dylan later, Dylan's story is the classic story of entering into a plea bargain that he never should have taken. And a defense lawyer, a very unskilled defense lawyer, dealing with a very skilled district attorney who knows how to generate plea bargains. And just, Dylan got approval from the parole board to be here tonight, and welcome back to Joy, and we'll be beginning the awards in about an hour.
All right. So let's okay, so we'll commence. We'll start doing some interviews now.
Yes, incredible group of people there. Can you move back to the camera so I can see you? You're too close, Jeffrey. Yeah, that's good. First of all, this is priceless. You have, you're pursuing justice. 29 years, 25 years, and 11 men exonerated, falsely imprisoned. Wow, I can't believe it. You have done amazing, amazing work. Justice is priceless. How does that feel when you have exonerated 11 men? How does that feel?
Yeah, it's incredible to be able to reach back and help people in the same position that I was once in. That feeling is the best feeling in the world, and I feel so fortunate to be free, to be exonerated myself, and I can't forget about people, and I feel like I have had so many educational opportunities that many others haven't had, hence my feeling a strong moral imperative in order to continue to do advocacy work like this.
You were chosen for this mission in life, and you went through the tunnel of darkness, and you came out, and you became a lawyer. You started an organization. You helped get 11 men. Now you presented a bill that's going to be signed by the governor. Tell us about that.
Thank you. So I guess I'll introduce some people here. We'll do a few interviews.
Tell us about the bill that you have that the governor's signing.
Well, the governor's going to sign it. He hasn't signed it yet. He briefly his team contemplated him signing it tonight in a live ceremony, but that turned out not to be feasible because he had a tight schedule. But he is going to sign. The fact that they were talking about doing bill signing indicates that they are going to sign the bill. So that would be the Commission on Prosecutor Conduct. So it'll be an independent oversight board for prosecutors. They'd have subpoena power, expertise, and they would be able to investigate allegations of prosecutorial misconduct and make recommendation. It would be the first in the country. So this would be
This is
yeah, it'd be a first in the
monumental.
country.
It is monumental. I have watched how so many prosecutors not obey the conduct.
And I went up.
That is monumental. Okay, go ahead. Let's go around the room. I know it's hectic there. Let's meet guys.
So, let you know, I told your interns. Are you
Don't make another joke on my camera.
So Susan, I want to so here, let me introduce somebody over here. So we have Anthony DePippo. We're live. Anthony, what does an event like tonight mean?
This is family here to me. This is us fighting for criminal justice reform. I love these people. These people are brothers and sisters to me. They can call upon me anytime. I did 20 years wrongfully convicted, and I'm just proud to stand with
Move back. I want to hear you. Can you move back? I want to see your face more.
I'm sorry.
Jeffrey, put me on speaker so they don't have to
Put
come.
her on speaker.
Yeah. Put me on speaker.
This is as loud as I can make it go.
Oh, okay, fine. Ask him, let me see his face and tell us about his story.
She wants to see your face, but
And tell us about your story a little bit. You spent 20 years.
It's very difficult to hear you.
Okay, tell us about your story.
I'm
sorry. Go ahead. It's hard to hear you, Susan.
Tell us about your story.
He wants you to tell a little bit about your story.
Well, sorry.
You can't hold it up. You gotta look at it. Tell them about your story.
I did 20 years wrongfully convicted. Rape and murder I didn't commit. I was framed by the same people that Jeffrey Deskovic was framed by. Dan Stevens, one of the #1 culprits. And 2 days ago makes 5 years of freedom for me. And so I'm here. I'm celebrating and just making this event as best as we can. Have a good time.
Well, I would love to interview these guys one by one after the show another time with you, Jeffrey. You bring them on.
Yeah, we can arrange that another time. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's go through the crowd. Go ahead. This is great.
Okay, let me go to the crowd. Thank you. So, okay, so give me 1 second. Excuse me.
Okay.
Professor, come up in here. How you doing? So I'm doing a live stream. Could we interview you for a second? Of course. Come on in. So, Susan, we have here, hold the camera here.
Yes.
So we have Professor Michael, former law school professor of mine, Michael Mushlin, who made his career doing prison reform lawsuits. What does an event like tonight mean?
Oh, it's very meaningful. It's just so meaningful to hear all the people that have been introduced and that have endured so much and come through it with so much strength and spirit. It's really uplifting. In one way, it's very uplifting. In another way, it's very sobering that it could happen to people like this.
Absolutely.
So that's my reaction. I'm very glad I'm here.
Yes. Excellent.
Okay, let me move on. Let me continue work the room. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, give me 1 second.
You got it.
So, okay. Okay, 1 second. So, I have Bob Marone here. I'm doing a live stream. Can I interview you for a question or two?
Well, I just spoke to the gentleman about who spent 25 years in jail and was sentenced to death. And he should be very angry, but he's not. He's happy to be out. And he doesn't yet have a settlement. How do we help him do that? How do you help him?
Well, I mean, that has to happen through the legal process. That has to happen through the legal process, but we are working for compensation in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is one of 14 states that does not currently have exonerate compensation. So we're working on that, and he certainly would benefit from that when we pass that law. So that's why we're working in Pennsylvania.
Excellent.
Thank you. And continue doing what you're doing, Jeff. You're a very special man.
Thank you. All right, so give me a second here.
You
Another
got
person to speak with. Hold on.
You got it.
Okay, so give me a second here. Okay, I'm moving around the room, and excuse me. So I have Pablo Fernandez here. He's another man who's been introduced that was exonerated for 25 years. Pablo, I'm doing a live stream. Can I ask you a question or two on camera?
Yes.
Hello,
So,
how are you?
What does it mean to you, Pablo, in order to have a group that is concerned with wrongful conviction, that's working on policy changes aimed at preventing what happened to you from happening to other people? What does it mean to you?
It's a great thing. So yes, it's a great thing. To helping a lot of people that I know they in jail innocent, and they can find a way to go home, because it's real hard to make it. Real hard. So this group here is real good, because it's helping people. We try to help people, and I know a lot of people that need help. A lot of people that need help. A lot of innocent people in jail that need help, and that's why I'm here supporting this group.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Pablo. Thank you. I'm gonna make my rounds. I'm gonna try to get Sean Washington.
You're doing a great job. This is very powerful. Very
Thank
powerful.
you. So we have Sean Washington over here. Sean was one of the men exonerated in New Jersey who did 25 years. Sean, I'm live streaming on the show on YouTube called Legal Minutes, and I'd like to briefly interview you. Okay, we'll hold the camera. So, Sean, what is it like? What is it like to be free?
It's amazing, overwhelming. It's a good feeling.
And what are your thoughts coming across a group like this that's dedicated to fighting wrongful conviction policy work? What is it like to be amongst people like this?
It's an overwhelming feeling to see people who really understand and care that innocent men and women go to prison. Because most people believe if you're in prison, you did something. But most of us, a handful of us here can attest that that's not true. So I think this is powerful, and I hope it goes countrywide, nationwide, and around the world, because there's innocent people in prisons all over the world.
That's right. That's right. You are right.
Okay, let me work the crowd some more. Let me try to find.
Yeah.
Let me try to find somebody else.
Some
willing
of
to
those
be,
prosecutors will be in prison instead.
interviewed. Give me a second. Steve. So I'm here with Steve Downs. He's a member of It Could Happen to You. He's one of the board members. He helps to write the proposed legislation. He liaisons for us with the legislature. Let me interview you briefly. So Steve, what is it like? Trying to craft language for bills aimed at preventing wrongful conviction? What does that mean to you? And what is an event like tonight where you see people in person that are wrongfully convicted?
Well, I was just telling some guys, that we pushed through the discovery bill. And so as a practicing attorney, for the first time, I actually got to try a case under that new discovery law. And it made a complete difference. It turned out that they had to come up with a discovery. They didn't have any discovery. They couldn't plea bargain, so they dropped the charges. We went into court. Judge says, all right, I'm dismissing this case. And we had a fist bump with the prosecutor who said, I think they got the wrong guy. That never would have happened under the old system. So just that one experience made me realize how revolutionary what we were able to do. in doing that. Of course, I know the same effect is going to happen from the Commission on Prosecutorial Conduct. I feel that's going to also be revolutionary. It's just going to change the way prosecutors approach their jobs.
All right, well, thank you very much, Steve. Thank you. Let me work the room a little bit more. Hold on. Let me
You're really good at this, Jeffrey. You're a natural.
give me 1 second. Yes. Okay, please. So I have listen to this, Susan. I have the Erie County District Attorney. I have the Erie County District Attorney right here with me right now. He's getting an award, the Minister of Justice Award from our group, and let me interview him now. So, District Attorney Flynn, I'd like to ask you, okay, what is it like to be in attendance at an event like this and seeing people in person that have been wrongfully convicted? So that's the first question. Yep. And the second question would be, how does it feel being recognized by a group of advocates and exonerees as doing the right thing, as being a minister of justice, as district attorney?
I'm truly honored. And what really, I spoke to Bill earlier, and I asked Bill, am I the first elected district attorney to get the Ken Thompson Award? And Bill thought for a moment and said, John, yes, you are. So for me, to be the first elected DA to get the Ken Thompson Award is truly an honor that I can't even begin to tell you, because Mr. Thompson was a hero when it comes to the creation of convicted criminals, convicted prisoners getting out of jail. He was the first DA to establish a conviction integrity unit here in New York State. And that's one of the first things that I did after I became district attorney in 2017. I established a conviction integrity unit that helps people like that are in this room right now. And that's what I try to do. And that's what I try to do each and every day. So in order to get this award, to be the first elected DA to get the Ken Thompson Award is truly an honor. And I want to thank the organization from the bottom of my heart, Chef.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right. So let me walk the room a little bit more, and let me find somebody else to take a picture with. Hold on. I'm taking an interview with.
Yeah, I want to meet the guy who was
a lot of luminaries here.
I want to meet the guy that was sentenced.
So I'm going to give you now briefly Tom Hoffman. Tom is an attorney who has exonerated 4 people, and he's getting an award tonight as a private sector servant of justice award recipient. Tom, what is it? Tom, what is it?
She's my wife.
Tom. All right, so hold on a minute. So Tom, I'd like to ask you, as an attorney, what is it like to work to exonerate the wrongfully convicted?
The only thing harder is raising an infant.
No, he's following. Hold on 1 second. Give me a second here, please. Okay, stop. All right, hold on a second. Let me come.
Okay, go ahead. Come back on when you're ready.
Give me 1 second. Hold on a minute.
Right. Go ahead.
Oh, no, just follow me.
Guys, we're going to wait for a few seconds. Let him get situated. This is, he's just trying to work the room. I think he's doing an amazing job. This is the most amazing meeting. Imagine 25 years, 29 years, sentenced to death. And then one guy was supposed to get out, but they just said, you know, you're going to have to stay in jail and fight it for a couple of years. And he said, well, I'd rather just get out. And he gave up on his fight, and then he died. I mean, it's so sad, but this is what's going on. And finally, somebody's going to have some accountability with the prosecutors that are behind so much of this misconduct.
And they said, to prove the guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but maybe not necessarily innocent. What is it like?
Well, it's a long and difficult fight. You have to have a little stubbornness in you because no one wants it to happen. you know, the system values finality more than it values justice many times. So you're really trying to do something that a lot of people are fighting against. And so, you know, someone like Tom Hoffman, who I idolize as a lawyer, you know, inspires me to continue the work. You have to have a very thick skin, and you have to know that it's frustrating because, you know, it's hard to dig up evidence in old cases. So it can take a long time to get it done, but it's extremely rewarding because you know you're on the right side of justice, you're on the right side of the law, and a lot of our clients have no one else that they can turn to. So it's important work, and frankly, we couldn't do it without support from foundations like It Could Happen to You, from the Deskovic Foundation, from so many organizations that volunteer time and effort to the cause. So it's an honor for me to be here at all. But I'm always in awe of all the exonerees that are here. They're the real heroes tonight.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Oscar. Okay, let me work the room a little bit more. Let me find some additional people to interview. Okay, I'm going to go back to Tom Hoffman. So, Tom, I want to ask you the same question I asked Oscar Michelin. What is it like working to free the wrongfully convicted? And I want to know, Tom, okay, I know why I'm passionate, Tom. I know why I'm passionate because it happened to me. It didn't happen to you, Tom. I want to know why you do this? Why are you passionate?
That's what I'm going to answer.
Yeah, but just briefly, you can't ask the question too, please.
Because I am a victim of the Holocaust. I lost my entire family. I was saved by a Christian who hid us in their apartment. When I got Kareem's letter, tell me, how was I going to keep it in the trash can where I got it? I took it out. My family history played on it. I could not say no.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hoffman. Okay, yes, I asked you another question. I'm sorry. Let me give you back the mic.
What is it like to handle an exoneration case? The only thing more difficult than an exoneration case, there's only one thing more difficult. That is raising an infant child, a day old, a week old, a month old. That's an impossible job. So is a court case. It's impossible. The resistance is unbelievable.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me work the crowd a little bit more. Let me see who else we can. Yeah. So I have Tom Hoffman's daughter. I have Tom Hoffman's daughter right here, and I want to ask you the obvious. I know the answer, but we want to ask. So I do want to ask you if you're proud of your dad. That's an obvious answer. Don't answer right now. You will in a minute. But more importantly, you know, what are your thoughts about this whole wrongful conviction thing?
It just is a tragedy, an unspeakable tragedy beyond words that our here in so-called justice system treats people like this. To hear the numbers around the room, 20 years, 25 years, 20, you know, it's an unspeakable tragedy. And thank God for organizations like It Can Happen to You and all the fighters in this room that are just doing incredible work every day. I feel grateful to be amongst them.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So let me work the crowd a little bit more. Let me see who else I can find. Okay, so I got Roderick Johnson, who did 24 years on sentenced to death in Pennsylvania. So Roderick, I want to ask you, going from death row to society, talk about the extreme difference, because I mean I've never been on death row, thank God.
Well, you know, solitary confinement
for 24 years, and it's like going from, hot to cold. So it's a really different environment, especially coming on to COVID, this plague that we're under. It was, shocking to say the least. It was a very difficult process. It's still a difficult process, adjusting, the anxiety, the stress, the mental anguish that you go through inside the prison, to go through it now, being home, not knowing what to do, who to turn to, what to go. It's been a difficult process, and I'm just, I'm grateful that I'm home, and I'm just taking it one day at a time.
Right, one day at a time. That's right.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Roger, and welcome home as well. Let me work the room a little bit more. Let me see what we can find here. So I've got a man here, no stranger to you, Susan. A man no stranger to you. I got the president of Americans for Legal Reform, Gary Jacobs here. And,
Gary Jacobs, wow.
Gary, we're live streaming. I'd like to ask you, I'll put the camera on you in a minute. Define Americans for Legal Reform, and why are you here? And what's the relationship, if any, between family law reform and criminal justice reform?
I feel like I'm being cross-examined. Are you a lawyer? Americans for Legal Reform, we're the oldest legal advocacy group in the United States, and originally the group was set up to push for legal reform, which they tried to do for many, many years, but that's a very, very slow process. And during the process, people who are in the system are just getting screwed and having their lives ruined one at a time. So what we do now is we meet every month, and we're really a networking group. And as Jeff knows, networking is important because you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't know the right attorney, the right advocates, the right connections in the media, it's not going to get you anywhere. So you really need these connections. So that's really a lot of what we do, is introduce people, and that's how I met Jeff, who's become one of my best friends, Jeff Deskovic. And I've obviously what Jeff went through. I feel like just as a human being, we owe it to Jeff to be there for him. But he is really a role model. He saved me really because I was angry that I was in the family court system for 11 years, and I had a lot of anger in me. And when I remember asking Jeff, you were in prison for 16 years for something you didn't do. How are you not angry all the time? And he told me they took all this time from me, and I'm not going to let them take any more. And I said, you know what? If Jeff can do it, I can do it. And what I do is I believe in, taking something negative and turning it into positive. And I love being in a room full of Jeff Deskovic and all these exonerees. I mean, listen, any of these people who are exonerated, they can leave, they can go home and go on with their life and say, it's not my problem anymore. But all these amazing people in this room, they're sticking around to pay it forward and help the next person. I mean, Jeff got his settlement, he became an attorney, he could charge people and have a great life. But he doesn't. He's here fighting for people. And this is who I want to surround myself with, amazing people like that, because you are who you're surrounded with. And, I'm sitting next to Lorenzo Johnson, Frank Vetro. I'm at a table full of other exonerees. I met Roderick today. I mean, this man was on death row for 24 years. He was telling us, Frank and I, how this man was 72 hours from execution. They brought him in to ask what he wanted to do with his body. And what was his last meal? I used to be for the death penalty until I met Jeff. But anybody who hears probably any of these stories here would be against the death penalty.
That's exactly why I am against it. That's exactly why I am against it, because the justice system is so broken. You can't rely on it because innocent people in jail and people who should be in jail are out, under color of a title, and nothing's happening to them. So
I'm back here. I'm back. Let me work the crowd a little bit more. Yeah. All right. So I'm here with Frank Vetro.
Spent the least amount of time in prison of anyone.
So Frank, Bill. My guys, we're live though. Please don't scream.
So Frank actually has a book called. Good, Susan, you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to ask you something. The guy that was in on death row, and he's asked what they want to do with his body and his last stand. I wanted to know how did he get released within 72 hours? What happened?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a question really when we do like we have more time to do that in a different setting where we can have better acoustics
I
and
have to
everything.
meet these guys. You have to
No,
come on. I have
listen,
to meet
you guys
every
connect
one
with
of
me.
them.
I know the guys. I can make it happen. No,
Yeah,
stick
these
with me,
guys
kids,
are
we'll go
amazing.
places, okay?
Yeah.
Joking around. We're friends and colleagues. No worries. So let me just get a quick interview in with Frank. So Frank has you have the book Standing on Principle. You had your own brush with false accusations. Discuss what the personal impact of that on you was being falsely accused, and share how many charges.
Okay, so I had 8 charges against me. One of the things that, if it didn't happen to me, I would be going through life, and I was a high school principal when I was charged with these crimes, and I didn't do any of the time that these guys around me did. But you go through the system and you lose everything in life. I wound up living in my car. And one of the things is I would have never believed when it happened to me. I thought my story was so unique, like this never happens to anybody. Then when I fought back, I wrote my book. I started doing a radio show. That's how I met Jeffrey. I interviewed him on my show, and I started meeting all these people. And I started to say, wow, the amount of suffering I did is nothing compared to these guys. And there's 2 things I take, 2 general themes I take from my saga. Is number one, when people say the system is broken, I say, you know what? The system's not broken. It's running exactly the way the people in charge want it to run. It's running exactly the way the people in charge want it to run. It ain't broken. There's rules in place, but they just don't follow them by choice. And number 2, one of the things I found in the criminal justice system is that the presumption of innocent until proven guilty has been overshadowed by the presumption of guilty until proven wealthy. If you don't have any money, you're in big trouble in the United States of America. And people walk on and they say, "Oh, it's the greatest system out there." I'll concede. I'll say, okay, it is the best system, but that doesn't mean it doesn't need a lot of work either. All right. And I always tell people, fine, it's the best system. But if I line up 10 pieces of crap and I say, well, this one smells the least, it's still a piece of crap. We need to fix things around here. To be, one of the best days of my life, meeting Jeffrey and all all the knowledge he's given me about. I thought I knew something through my research, but and everybody around me. So when I think I suffered, which I did, it's nothing compared to these guys, and they have raised me to another level, and I really appreciate it. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Wow.
Okay, great. Let me work the room, not very far. So I got a couple of interns here with the foundation. I believe they're going to do their first interview ever. Okay, so get ready, ladies. You got to be able to speak on wrongful convictions at the drop of a dime. So I want to ask both of you. You'll tell me your names, and then I want to hear from both of you. What is it like doing work at the foundation as far as gathering the documents? You've seen the people exonerated here. You know that all their cases start at simply gathering the correct legal documents that could be analyzed, then sent to an analyst. The first step in the process after the letter that's sent on the road to potential exoneration. Want to ask both of you, give me your names, and what is it like doing that work, particularly now that you have seen people in person who have been exonerated?
Okay. Hi, my name is Ishita Kushi. I'm a freshman at Delta. I finished my freshman year. I started working with the foundation in April, and I absolutely love it. It's so exciting. It's really interesting. I have learned a lot from just like reading documents and just gathering all the paperwork and just filing it. I definitely think just by reading all those documents, I have definitely learned how broken the legal system is. And just meeting people today, I definitely was devastated to hear all their how their life had been with like going through trial, being wrongfully convicted, and just everything else, and how they still fought for their right, and they just had hope, and I absolutely love doing this.
Hi, I'm Aparna Verma, and I definitely agree. It's been like, even though this side of law is not what I initially wanted to do, I'm more of I want to get into corporate. but like working at the foundation and processing all these files have really given me an insider's look at all the stuff. And some of the cases, it's so interesting and intriguing to see how people, their cases actually show how there's nothing against them, but there's something that went wrong. That's why they were in jail. And now meeting all these people and hearing the stories has been it's been horrific to see what these people have faced in their lives. And it's really like interesting to see that I'm now working towards something that is working in favor of them at this population of the people that don't really get their voices heard, because people already have the rights made up for them.
All right, thank you very much, ladies. Okay, let me continue to work the room a little bit. Let's see who else I can snag on camera. I think I see somebody now. If I can only squeeze by Frank Retro, he takes a lot of space in the island. So I have attorneys. I have actually kind of a new attorney, not been practicing for a long time as a lawyer, though doing legal work prior to that. I have Bob Kerrigan over here, and Bob is practices law. What's the name of the firm, Bob? And I want to know, and I want to also know, what is it like working on wrongful conviction cases as opposed to regular run-of-the-mill cases? So we're doing a case together, the firm, myself, Exoneree John O'Hara, who's an attorney. What's it like doing that type of work?
Sure, Jeff, thank you, and I appreciate it. It's Kelly Grossman and Kerrigan. I spent my first career trading securities. Really, it's very profitable, but it wasn't affecting anyone's life. Joined the Kelly Grossman firm, and then Jeff, God bless you, he introduced me to Willie Lopez. And I saw what a positive impact we could have on people's lives, and it became a passion, and that's what we're devoting our career to. And Jeff, I want to thank you. You introduced us to us and got us started, and God bless you and your foundation.
Okay, and I want to briefly bring Dennis Kelly on. Dennis, been doing this for a while now, you and I, and even with me, shall we say. So again, discuss like the long process from document gathering to getting something in court, and the long trip that is.
We were talking about that earlier. The amount of work that goes into trying to overturn a conviction is very daunting, and we have to start from scratch, getting all the material together, and very often, sometimes the client and/or has had other motions pending that have been denied. So it's a real uphill battle to get it together and put together the team and the evidence that can ultimately result in a overturning of a conviction. But we'd like to thank you, Jeff, for your passion in representing people who are underserved and find it hard to get lawyers to advocate for them. And your foundation and servants of justice here really are instrumental in freeing wrongfully convicted individuals. Thank you again.
All right, thank you very much, Dennis. Let me work the room. Okay. Let me see if I can get somebody else here. Hold on. Let me try to interview somebody else. So I have Terry Bastick here. I have Terry Bastick. So that's the wife. That's the spouse of Bill. That's the spouse of Bill Bastick, who founded It Can Happen to You. So I want to ask you a question with respect to the family perspective. You were a wife. Your husband was falsely accused of a rape, which he did not commit. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the family strain, the strain on the family as a spouse of somebody when they've been falsely accused of a crime, particularly one as serious as that has extremely serious. I mean, as your attorney said, John Speranza said, I'm going to have to fight like hell to stop you from spending the next 25 years in a cage. So I'd like to hear you speak to that.
And it was the first time that we met with our lawyer. Anyway, when Bill came home and said that he was questioned by the police, it was mind-boggling.
that this could even have happened, an issue. And so
I can't hear you. Wait.
we're pending.
Okay, hold on. I can't hear you. Move back.
Told by a family member that was a lieutenant in the police department that we should lawyer up. We went to a lawyer, and he said you will be indicted, and this will go to trial. It's like, how the heck? I mean, there's no way. And he said you are the perfect type person. You're a public person, the big, knocking somebody's buckle, and we had to do to where we are today. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
Wait, Jeff.
Okay, let me see who else I can get. Oh, I see somebody now. I see somebody now who I can do the live stream interview with. Okay, so I'm over here with Nada. How do you pronounce your last name? Nada Kader. I bet you most people mispronounce that. But Nada, now you're with Westpac.
Westchester People's Action Coalition. We're a 47-year-old center for social justice, serving the Westchester County area since 1974. And we work on a whole range of social, economic, racial, environmental justice issues. And we're very proud to be here this evening with the Jeffrey Deskovich Foundation and with If It Happened to You. This work is really important, and all of you have been fighting for years, and it looks like we're going to get it done this year.
All right, so maybe one more question. I just would like to discuss, what is it like being involved in grassroots tactics? I mean, not everything in this field is lawyers and investigators. Often what goes on, other grassroots tactics, equally important in supporting the lawyering. What is it like engaging in grassroots tactics?
Well, for many of our issues, the real impact is the lived experience of ordinary people. That's what forces policy change. It's the people on the street, the people in the communities, the people in the neighborhoods who advocate for progressive social change to make lives better for everyone. And by the way, Jeff, it was heartbreaking for me to see how many people in this room have served so many years, wrongfully convicted, locked up for 5, 10, 15, 25, 30 years. Our criminal justice system must change. And we thank you for the work you do.
Thank you very much, Nada. Let me see who else I can find over here in the room. Let me see who else we've had. We've heard from really a wealth of people thus far. So let me see who else I can find around here to. Let me see who else I can find to interview. Give me 1 second here, Susan.
All the time. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So hold on. Let me So I have All right. Where's she at? All right. Give me 1 second here. Let me find one more person to interview. I need to do this quick. I'm live. So give me 1 second. Give me. All right. So here. Yeah. All right. So here. So I'm with Alexis. I pronounce your last name. Desmoni. Now you're with what organization are you with?
Voices for the falsely accused.
Okay. So what is it like being in attendance with the exonerees, and why is Voices part of the It Could Happen to You coalition as opposed to just a standalone organization?
We're part of this larger group of people here that have joined, including the It Could Happen to You organization and the Jeffrey Deskovich Foundation. We're a small upstate local group that is started from personal experience that we had of someone in our family being falsely accused. But it has been amazing to be here. It's breathtaking and heart-wrenching to hear the stories from all these exonerees. And it's just, it's so important for us to be part of this movement of justice reform. And it's an honor. It's an honor to be here.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me work the crowd and find somebody. Let me find somebody. Okay. All right, hold on. Let me move on. Okay, let me work the room and let me see who else we can find to interview. Give me 1 second here. Okay, here. So here. So help me pronounce your name.
It's Rebecca Grigas.
I'm here with Rebecca Grigas, and she's the communications director for Assemblyman Court. He is receiving a public sector servant of justice award. I do want to just note, for informational purposes only, that Assemblyman Court is in fact running for Manhattan District Attorney, intending to have a real conviction review unit to continue to push policy reforms, many of which he's either introduced or voted for, co-sponsored in his capacity as Assemblyman. So I'd like to ask you, what is it like working for him, doing communications on behalf of somebody who really is fighting for justice, who's in the office in order to try to make a difference, not holding the office just for holding the office's sake, not seeking to enrich himself? And I can certainly say he's definitely not part of the good old boys club with all the legislation he introduces to fight for justice reform. So what is it like working for somebody like him?
Yeah, I just wanted to correct. I'm actually his director of community relations. Although I'm not communications, I still deal with the community as large. I've been with Dan for about 2.5, 3 years now, and I just really, throughout my time working with him, he, like Jeffrey just said, he is not a buddy with, everyone. He stands up for what is right, no matter what the consequences may be. And just knowing all of his work, I was there when he was really going motor bail reform in 2018. That was something he was very passionate about, led the fight for it. And then, as the years went on, he had still helped doing it, like the Conviction Review Board. I know that is something I also helped him study back in 2018. Although I'm not as involved in it legislatively, still community members ask me about his work, and I'm just very happy that I work for him because he's truly a passionate guy. You don't meet someone like him, who represents the Upper East Side of Manhattan, that has such a passion for, doing what is right in the state, no matter what the consequences may be. So yeah.
Great. So let me see who else. Let me see who else I can find. You see who else I can find here. And okay. All right. So here I found somebody else to interview. So I have found a member of It Could Happen to You, Marion Lubis, who's traveled from Pittsburgh, and her son Michael Gallo was part of the Foundation's accomplishments that I referenced. In collaboration with attorneys Justin Bonus and Dan Forrest, the petition has been submitted into the Conviction Review Unit in Pennsylvania. And Marianne, I wanted to ask you, so as a family member, what's the difference in a wrongful conviction case when your case is basically dead in the water, just sitting there, as opposed to when people are actually working on it, when something's been submitted, when exoneration and release is a possibility?
Well, the difference is that, first of all, when nothing's happening, you have no hope at all. You have no hope of ever being free or getting exonerated. Once somebody's actively working on your case, you have hope again. You have hope, and especially now with the Jeffrey Destiny Foundation and the attorneys that he got for us through his foundation are amazing. They have found so many Brady violations and errors in his case. It's just so exciting to know that it's actively being worked and not just stand still. So very exciting. We're happy. Things are happening. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let me see who else I can find. Let me see who else I can find. I got can I ask you a couple questions on camera? Okay, so hey, look, I have the country's leading expert on prosecutorial misconduct here, Professor Bennett Gershman, who has what's widely considered to be the definitive book on prosecutorial misconduct, called what else? Prosecutorial Misconduct. I want to ask you, so you're a former prosecutor. Why are you involved with It Could Happen to You? And the second thing is, what are your thoughts in terms of seeing prosecutorial misconduct, how it results in wrongful convictions, knowing you were part of that profession? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, first, I'm part of this organization because I believe in justice. I believe that prosecutors should behave fairly and impartially, and seek justice. And this is an organization that is absolutely in line with that philosophy. This organization seeks to investigate and free people who've been wrongfully convicted. And I don't think there's any higher mission than to seek that result. I mean, the idea that a person could be wrongfully convicted and spend years and years in jail, the tragedy is almost incomprehensible. The tragedy to the person, his family. So it's an organization that I absolutely am committed to assisting. You know, the prosecutor is the most powerful official, in my opinion, in government. In government, I said that very broad, more powerful than any other official. The prosecutor decides who lives and who dies, who loses his freedom, who loses his reputation. It's the prosecutor's call, always. And there is no check on the prosecutor's decision. And so prosecutors have to be as careful as they can possibly be in examining the evidence and making this incredible determination that the defendant deserves to be prosecuted and deserves to be convicted of the crime. The problem is many prosecutors don't apply the care and the care, the responsibility, the professionalism that they need to do. Prosecutors sometimes don't do the right thing, and defendants fortunately suffer the consequences. So, you know, it's a very easy thing for me to say. I was a prosecutor for 10 years. And I believe that there are great prosecutors out there, but there are also prosecutors who shouldn't be prosecutors.
Thank you very much, Professor Gershman. We will. Let me see who else I can. Let me see who else we can find here to interview. Give me 1 second. Yes. All right. So here I got Pam Booker. I have Pam Booker from. What's the name of the organization again, Pam? I got Pam Booker from Prison Families of New York. So Pam, what's it like witnessing an event where you're a family, you know, when you're a family member, you have someone that's incarcerated. Don't do it. So what's it like to be a family member of somebody who's incarcerated, and talk a little bit about the grassroots activities that your organization does. Yeah, okay, hold on. Pam is not feeling well. Hold on. Okay, we'll come back. Maybe we'll come back to her after. Let me find somebody else. Let me find somebody else. So here, I got Dr. Soratinsky. Of course, she refuses to be called that by me. She wants to be called Marina. So Marina, you're a teacher at St. John's. You've been a teacher and a professor. Been a professor at John Jay College, and of course also Mercy College, where I got my bachelor's degree. They gave me a scholarship. So I wanted to ask you about what are your feelings and thoughts of being involved in the innocence movement from the perspective of coordinating wrongful conviction events, putting together panel discussions.
Well, I think it's really the least we can do. People need to be made aware of this. Is basically what I'm trying to do on my side is let students know, let the community know what is going on, because so many people are completely just unaware of the extent of the injustices that are happening and the issues that are surrounding it. And what we're trying to do is raise public awareness so that more people get involved, more people actually push for, legislative change and policy change, both in the education and larger communities. So it's really the least we can do. And on my side, we're trying to also do research that promotes better understanding of the issues and as a professor of criminal justice, I'm trying to get that new generation to already go into the system knowing of those issues and hopefully doing a better job at
wherever they are in the system. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that. Let me find another person to
Wow, this is some
try to
some insight into your event. So much goes into it. Look at that. Professors and lawyers.
Bill Hughes over here. He's a board member of the Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation. So Bill, you've been a journalist before, and I'd like you to talk a little about what's the role of investigative journalism with respect to wrongful conviction, and maybe chat a little bit. Didn't your investigative journalism lead to an exoneration? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, as a matter of fact, yeah, it did. Boy, that guy was awful on camera. Yes, it makes me very uncomfortable talking on camera. But without investigative journalism, who's going to police the police without good journalists? Riddle me that.
All right, excellent. Thank you for that contribution, Bill Hughes.
Yes, journalists are supposed to be a check on authority. Unfortunately, they're not.
Absolutely, that's right. That's right. Okay. Let me see who else I can find here.
It's some event. Beautiful.
Okay, walking around the room. Let me see where else we can go. So give me one second here.
You go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so I have Joanne Gaylord here. I have Joanne Gaylord, and Joanne did some public relational work at Pace Law School. And so Joanne, you're joining us first time, joining it happened to you here, and just whatever you want to say. What are your thoughts about what you've seen? Why is it important to support events like this?
I have spent most of my time talking with the exonerees and asking them questions. As you know, I'm a journalist. I ask questions. Hearing their personal stories, hearing how they had dealt with the situation is mind-blowing. I don't think I would have had the strength to come through the way each of them has, to find the goodness in the situation. They deserve so much more than what we're doing for them. If this is a beginning, if this is a way to start helping them, thank you, Jeff, for making this happen. We need more of us up here to make this take it even further. You're one guy doing amazing work. You deserve more support. They all deserve more support. And as one of our honorees said, no, there are a lot more still in prison. We got to get them out.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Thank you very much. Okay, let me see. Let me see who else I can find here. Still live here. Let me see who else I can find. Give me a second here. I think we're good on the stills. I think we're good.
We're good?
Okay, so give me one more second. Let me look around. Okay, so 1 second. The charges and extension. I need to power this thing in a minute to continue the live stream. Okay, so give me 1 second here. No, I have to. Give me 1 second. Okay, well, I'm still live here. You want to get a quick? Give me 1 quick second. Just hold it. View the room. Give me 1 second.
Well, guys, this is quite an experience. You know, one man coming out of prison, becoming a lawyer. He was 17 when he went in and got his education, became a lawyer, started this foundation, 11 exonerated, making a bill that's going to be put into law for prosecutorial misconduct.
Okay, so I have Lorenzo Johnson here. So, Lorenzo, what's it like being you're in New York or wrongfully convicted in a state other than your own, Pennsylvania? What's it like, that unique twist, being incarcerated in a state not your own? And what are some of the particular challenges and difficulties that come with that?
It's like trying to breathe underwater. You know, it's like trying to breathe underwater. And at the end of the day, when you're illiterate to the law and you depend on the system to help you and the system fails you, it recreates people like us. We had to teach ourselves law, and in my situation, I had to represent my own self in court for 6 years. And I won on that issue that I raised. You know, it's difficult. It's extremely difficult when you don't know the law and you rely on the system to help you, and the system help hurt you, and you become a victim of the system. So, wrongful convictions, intentional convictions, I call them, because it's not wrongful, because they intended to do exactly what they did. So I'm here to help people that can't help themselves, and I'm a voice for people that don't have a voice.
All right, thank you very much for your comments, Lorenzo Johnson. Maybe we'll chat with Roddy a little bit. You think I know, he told me, that's fine. Yeah, if he has to leave, I understand, that's fine. Let me move around, look for someone else.
Slide. So in 10 minutes, we're going to start the ceremony.
Sure. So hold on a second. I got the founder of the coalition. I'm going to ask him one question. I got Bill Bastick here. So Bill, this all started. Your wife came up with the phrase, it could happen to you, right? What's it like going from the idea when you first thought about, applying your coalition building skills and your inside baseball knowledge to go from that to go from this?
Well, first of all, I never played for the Yankees, so I don't have that much baseball knowledge. However, it just goes to prove that persistence and to pursue a dream pays off. And we've done that with the Commission on Prosecutorial Conduct here in New York, and we're doing it in other states.
Thank you very much, Bill. All right, let me see if I can find somebody else. We're getting ready to start the program up in a minute. Yeah. So look, this is what I want to do. So Susan, we're gonna we're gonna charge up. We're gonna charge up things. So we're gonna start the program in 10 minutes. I'd like you to just talk to your audience. Give your own impressions. Buy me 10 minutes to charge this phone up, and I'll be rejoining you. So I got to get some more power in. Okay, I'll be back.
Okay, see you soon. Okay, guys. So he's going to come back, and we're going to have speeches from the honorees who are very special. And this is for the 2020 and 2021 awards for people who are changing the system. I mean, this is going to be the first commission of its kind for prosecutorial misconduct. All these, and you heard it from these distinguished people that are prosecuted. It's like it's God, you see what's going on, how these offices can easily be weaponized, and they could protect prosecutors who engage in misconduct, and they can weaponize and target people, lawyers and judges and other people that want to, who seek to address and look for accountability. So, and what you have is when a prosecutor or a judge, when they engage in misconduct, the consequences are so severe. People go to jail. People lose their lives. People lose their homes, their families, their generations are impacted by a prosecutor's misconduct, by an attorney's misconduct, by a judge's misconduct. So there's so much consequence to society and to individuals and to families. And can you imagine that it's been so hard to get accountability for prosecutors who engage in misconduct? It's been so hard to do that and also against judges who engage in misconduct. It's been near impossible to hold them accountable. And at the end of the day, their misconduct is so, the repercussions are enormous. So this is the system that we have. And Jeffrey Deskovic, I mean, one would be sick of this system. He was in that jail for 16 years, every birthday, every holiday, all his teenage years, his young adult years spent in a jail. And then he comes out, and then he becomes an attorney, and then he starts an organization, and then he helps exonerate 11 men One was on death row. We're going to have a series where we're going to interview these men. We're going to interview these heroes and they came out, all of them, and like Gary Jacobs, one of the he's part of another organization, and he was talking about how he wasted 11 years fighting family law corruption. And there's many victims of that. There's so many victims of court abuse, litigation abuse, court corruption, and but he said when he came out, and he has his own organization, which we're going to have him on as well. And he started an organization, but he was very depressed that a lot of his life was eroded by a corrupt court system. But then he met Jeffrey Deskovic, and who had spent 16 years in jail for a crime he never committed, when he could have been exonerated at the start because his DNA exonerated him. Yet, so it put him in perspective, and all these people coming together, and they're trying to help other people. And so this is what I fought for. I wrote the book, The Unchecked Power Guide, because I saw that the system was broken. It was oh so broken. I never expected that. They don't teach you that in law school. They teach you that it's about the facts, it's about the law. And as I always say, you have these beautiful columns. The courts are so beautiful, some of them, and the wooden chairs and tables, and the judge with his black robe, and everything so justice oriented and regal, and libraries and laws and citations, and you think, my goodness, this is where justice is had. And you heard from that guy where he said he thought he wrote a book and he became a radio host, and he said he thought what he had gone through was he was the only, like one of the few who have gone through that. And then he realized, my God, there's so many victims of this. And the reason he thought that is because there's a facade. There's a that you will get justice, that America is about justice, that our court system is run in such a just manner. I mean, it's ingrained in us to believe that. And only when you really go through it and you have exposure to it, and you see how dangerous it is, how broken it is, and how it erodes people's lives and families' lives, and it's just beyond anything you can imagine. So then you realize, my God, and I realized there are victims all throughout this country, so many victims of legal abuse, and they were caught up in this broken and many times corrupted, politicized system, and they didn't know it's so hard to get out. When you're in it, it's so impossible to extricate yourself from it. So what I did was, I realized when I wrote my book, The Unchecked Power Guide, which it's on Amazon, because that's the platform it's on. My next book won't be. But when I realized that there were sporadic stories here and there about corruption, misbehavior, and all these stories here and there that touched on corruption in the courts. But they were just short, news stories, and they always seemed to drop the ball, and it always gave the impression that there was just some corruption here and there, and that the system wasn't corrupted, but there was just incidents of corruption within the system. But because me and my colleagues, and we've seen so much, I said, no, I really have to analyze this system. I have to understand it. So when I wrote this book, it's not what I thought. I didn't write the book in my words. What I did was I got together all the articles, the journals. I wanted to know about the funding, the budget, who's in charge. And I realized that this was a very, this system was actually very it was run by a finite group of people with a lot of control over billions of dollars of budgets and no oversight, no meaningful oversight. And the offices, I realized the most important offices was the Judicial Ethics Committee uh, and the Attorney Ethics Committee. Those were the pillars. They're like um, they're the oversight. So, like if a prosecutor misbehaves, the Attorney Ethics Committee, the disciplinary committee, is supposed to discipline the prosecutor. But if that office is run in a political manner, and there's evidence that they are, then they could protect the misconduct of the prosecutor. So the prosecutor can just engage in any misconduct, can go after somebody and charge them. And even though there's no laws and no facts, no evidence, they could create investigations that go on for years that are baseless, and they could weaponize and use their power. And they can destroy someone's life even with a false investigation. They don't even have to get to the point of charging them, because these investigations are expensive, lengthy, they weigh on you, they ruin your reputation, they ruin your business, your practice. There's always a threat hanging over you. So even the investigation itself is a weapon, but even more so when you're charged. And what you heard in this beautiful function was that there was a man, and he was fighting for his freedom, for his independence. There were conflicts of interest. But they said, well, if you want to continue to fight for your freedom, well, it's going to cost you, you're going to have to stay in jail and keep fighting. Or, you could take this plea of sorts, and you can get out now. So he had been there a long time, and he just was worn down. He was worn down. He didn't want to fight. He was fighting all that time, but freedom, the hope of being outside, fresh air, not being in a jail cell and being with your family. He said, no, I got to take it now. And he went and he got out of jail. But he never got exonerated like he should have. And then 2 years after he was out, he died. Probably it impacted him a lot, that the injustice of it, and that he never was exonerated. So who knows what contributed to that? Years of being in a jail is not the healthiest, and being targeted and all the stress. But what they do is they create investigations, as we see this now in this country. They're weaponized, these offices. So they create an investigation, and they want to wear the victim of that investigation down, not because they did something wrong, not because of justice, but because people are exhausted and tired and they're worn down. So that's how it works, guys. And that's what I tried to change, and that's what Jeffrey Deskovic has tried to change. And here he is. Hello?
Ceremony.
Hello?
Is Jeffrey
All right. He's getting organized there still. So this is so important. I know it's not the easiest, he is somebody who has been doing this himself. He doesn't have high price producers, nor do I. We just are out there fighting the fight, like all of you, like all of us. We are just people who want to make a difference and want to shed light. I mean, what are we here for? This is so priceless. I don't think there's anything on TV. I challenge you to find anything on TV or on the internet that is more special than what you've seen here tonight. I challenge you. Here we go.
The galleries have been recognized, and with that, we are going to proceed with the 2020 New York State Public Servant of Justice Award, which is going to the Honorable Dan Cork. Now, I want to mention something about Dan. He was one of the first assembly members back in 2013 that signed up to co-sponsor the commission bill. All right. And when I sat down with him outside of the assembly chamber, which is where a lot of these meetings take place, he said, you know, my DA is Cy Vance, and he's not going to be very happy with me signing on this. And I said, well, do you care? And he said, no. So, and respectfully so, but one of the things I learned, you spend a lot of time with the sergeants of arms trying to get to the assembly people on the floor to call them off the floor. But the sergeants of arms, you know, you give them the card, you see, say, I want to see Assemblyman Dan Ford. And the sergeant of arms told me, oh, you mean pint size? That's the truth. So anyways, but Dan is a strong supporter, and I want Jeffrey Deskovich, is going to be honored to present the award to Dan's Chief Communications Coordinator. And also, I want to mention Dan can't be here tonight because it's the big ugly in Albany tonight, and they'll probably go in legislative session till about 2 a.m. So, but it's the big beautiful here tonight. So with that, yeah.
Thank you. So I've known Assemblyman Court maybe 7 or 8 years now. He's a friend to It Could Happen to You. I've stood shoulder to shoulder with him and many of you in the room at press conferences in Manhattan in support of legislation. I've spoken with him next to me in press conferences in Albany as he's made impassioned speeches on the assembly floor in support of the Commission on Prosecutor Conduct, referencing Bill Bastick, Selwyn Days, myself in attendance, along with another member of ITCHY couldn't be here tonight, H. Bosch Jr. Dan hasn't made a criminal justice reform piece of legislation that's the right thing that he hasn't liked. You know, I want to mention, you know, as a nonprofit organization, we do not endorse political candidates. So, not speaking here as a member of ITCHY. I'm not speaking now as a member of the foundation. I am speaking as an individual advocate, though, and I would be remiss if I did not mention that Dan Fort is, in fact, running for Manhattan District Attorney, so he can set up a real conviction integrity unit in Manhattan. Can I hear it? And Dan will continue to walk the halls of Albany, will continue to push legislation, even as DA, not as a legislator, but he will be able to speak in behalf of these same justice reform measures that he's championed as an assemblyman. Can you all imagine how powerful it would be to have a sitting district attorney speak in support of justice reform measures designed to prevent the injustices, many of which we've witnessed here tonight in the form of the exonerees? Wouldn't that be an amazing, amazing thing? So at this time, because Dan doesn't want to take any time away from his campaign, and we need him as the DA. And as he told me, look, your time and your money is all you have when you're running. So he asked if he could send another person here to accept this award tonight. And I'd like to ask Rebecca Briggs, his Director of Community Relations, to please come up here tonight, right now, and accept this award on behalf of Assemblyman Court. It reads, "There Could Happen to You 2020 New York State Public Sector Servant of Justice Award, presented on June 10, 2021 to New York State Assemblyman Dan Fort. Thank you for your commitment to enhancing equality and fairness in American justice."
Sorry, my name is Rebecca Briggs. I think there's miscommunication. I'm the Director of Community Relations. It's all good. Yeah, I've been working with Dan for the past 2 years now, and I cannot say, you know, how an amazing assembly member that he is, and just with all of his hard work and passion he puts into his work, and of course, without all of the work that you all do your advocacy, tireless advocacy. I haven't been up in Albany, and I just know how hard it is to get things through the assembly, and government is government. We can't do anything about it that much. But thank you all so very much for giving him this award. I'm sure he'll be very happy to put up in his office and another decoration. So I don't want to take the time, but again, thank you all very, very much for this recognition.
Thank you, Assemblyman Ford, for all you've done. Dan attended a press conference that we took in August 2018 on the steps of the New York City Supreme Court. And we didn't have too many Assembly members that were there. A lot of them were tied up. We had over 88 co-sponsors, but Dan showed up, stood up, spoke in favor of the commission bill to a vast plethora of media, and once again in Cy Vance's district. So courage is important. The next award is going to the 2020 Private Sector Servant of Justice, and that is Tom Hoffman. Now, Annie Rhodey Wright, our It Could Happen to You board member, who works at Siena College. She's a lawyer. Actually demanded that she could present this award on behalf of ITCHY. But Tom has been, I'll tell you, not only a fearless lawyer in court, and if you look at the cases that he's won and those who he is represented, he's also walked the halls with us and has spoken so passionately in meeting it. Get into that, and Annie Rhodey Wright, would you please have the honor of being the first presenter to Tom Hoffman for the 2020.
I'm actually going to read. I'm sorry. I don't trust myself to remember all these facts about Tom. So here we go. Tom Hoffman is a troublemaker and has been from the start. He's been making good trouble since 1969, when he had the chutzpah as a newly minted attorney to sue school districts in Oklahoma for the misuse of federal funds meant for minority students. School district didn't even see this brilliant litigator coming before it was too late. And little did Oklahoma know, but Tom Hoffman was just getting started. Before exiting Oklahoma for the Borscht Belt, Tom successfully fought for the rights of the poor and the Once safely in New York, Hoffman became a crusader for the rights of children wrongfully removed from their biological homes, and also won a class action suit on behalf of a mere 25,000 individuals who were placed on the maltreatment registry in violation of their due process rights. Then in 2004, a letter from an incarcerated soul would set Tom on a brand new path of excellent troublemaking. Kareem Bellamy had been convicted for a murder he didn't commit, and by year 10 of his incarceration, he struck gold in Tom Hoffman. 4 years later, due to the unflagging efforts of Tom Hoffman and the law firm of Bassett & Moore, Mr. Bellamy was freed. Tom, on the other hand, was hooked, so it seems, for life. A life sentence of working towards the exonerations of those wrongfully convicted. Since Mr. Bellamy's exoneration, Tom has successfully won the exonerations of Jathan Hendricks, Robert Majors, Emmanuel Cooper, and most recently, his sleuth investigatory work has enabled the exonerations of 3 other men, George Bell, Rohan Bolt, and Gary Johnson in Queens. And Tom is currently engaged in litigation to free 2 other wrongfully convicted men. To date, by my calculations, Tom is responsible for freeing men who cumulatively served 166 years wrongfully.
Yeah, yeah. 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 Oh, yeah.
Hoffman's thirst for tikkun olam, repairing the world by doing mitzvahs, good deeds, is apparently unquenchable. Maybe it's in his DNA. But Tom told my Siena students that the genesis of his drive to right wrongs, to reverse injustices, is from having been saved from the Holocaust in Budapest, Hungary, by non-Jews who risked their lives to save him, his twin sister, his brother, and his mother. As exoneree Jabbar Collins put it, he knows what it's like to be persecuted. Tom likes to say that he's in the resurrection business because through his work, he brings people back to life. These are not wrongful convictions, Tom says. They are murders. Murders of not only the wrongfully convicted person, but the whole family. The Talmud says that the greatest mitzvah of all is to save the life of another. And if that is so, then Tom Hoffman has earned his wings over and over and over again. He is a mensch in the full sense of the word because he is selfless, giving, and humble. And now it is my great honor to present the 2020 Private Sector Servant of Justice Award to my hero, my inspiration.
I am truly honored and thankful to receive this award. But this award does not belong to me. When a person is exonerated, there are few words of comfort that we can offer to the pain and suffering of decades of wrongful loss of liberty and loss of family. What we try to understand is that while the pain and suffering will never be lifted, perhaps we can find some meaning to that suffering. We see that meaning today in this very room with Bill Bastet, who was wrongfully prosecuted and is still paying off a mortgage for his legal fees that he incurred. Shortly after his acquittal, he established it could happen to you. We see some meaning to the suffering of Jeff Deskovic, for 16 years for a crime he did not commit, who after his exoneration established the Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation, which has contributed to the release of 11 people. We see meaning to the suffering in the exonerees who are here today, who after their release continue to advocate for those who have been left behind. People have asked me, what do I do? What I do. It's true. In May 2004, Kareem Bellamy wrote me a simple letter, one of many hundreds he had written, seeking help to undo a 1994 conviction. For a murder, he said, he did not commit. I think the prosecutor is trying to know. Well, I had done some criminal work. I never did a post-conviction proceeding. I didn't know where to begin. I was a solo practitioner. I promptly crumbled Kareem's letter and threw it into the trash. He has forgiven. In the late afternoon, just before the cleaning person came to empty the office trash can, I took Kareem's letter out. What happened during the preceding few hours that got me to take the letter out of the trash can and respond to this development? I was born on May 8, 1944, in Budapest, Hungary. I am Jewish. Whatever I have done and may do to help others, I do so to honor my family who perished in the Holocaust. I accept this award in honor of my paternal grandfather, Nachman Hoffman, my maternal grandfather, Yehoshua Ellis, my maternal grandmother, Elka, my aunt, Shesha Aron, and her husband, and her 4-year-old child, who was my cousin, Edna. I do so in honor of my paternal aunt, Shadi Kraus, her husband, her 2 children, my cousins Agi and Magda. My maternal aunt, Susan Pfeffer, her husband, and her son, my cousin, Ronald, who was 2 years old. All were murdered. My work also honors my uncle, Marcus Ellis, who was a young Polish 32-year-old attorney. He was in the woods outside of Warsaw and part of the Polish underground. In April 1943, the Germans announced that they would raise the Warsaw Ghetto and surrounded it with thousands of troops, tanks, mortars, machine guns, and bazookas. My 32-year-old uncle lawyer, Marcus, returned to the ghetto with the Polish underground to defend it. Whatever honors I may receive, I do so in Uncle Munir's name. All he had was a pistol. My mom originally came from Poland. She had moved to Budapest when she married my dad, who was Hungarian. In March 1944, 2 months before I was born, German troops entered Hungary. Hungary was an ally of Germany, and the Germans had left Hungary alone. But in the spring of 1944, despite needing troops to defend against the Russians advancing from the east and the American forces advancing from the west, Germans decided to use their scant remaining military resources to complete what they called the final solution, which was the eradication of all Jews. The final solution murdered 6 million Jews, of which 1.5 million, like my grandchildren, were children. My dad, Jacob Hoffman, did not make it. My dad was caught and placed on a 723-mile march to Hamburg, Germany. With virtually no food, it was just a matter of time before all those placed on the march perished. But the story has a happy ending, which hoping you can go home with. My mom, my twin sister Agi, and my older brother Edwin survived. I am here today. We were saved by the heroic deeds of a young Christian family Margit and Pishka Blažek. Pishka had worked for my father in his radio shop. My father was a brilliant electrical engineer. He designed one of the first radios, which now sits in a museum in Hungary. Pishka and Margit agreed to hide us in their home. If Christians were caught hiding Jews, they were publicly hanged as an example to others. When the German soldiers came looking for Jews, we were hidden behind a false wall in the basement, me and my sister. We were 6 months old. Somehow, we did not cry during those searches. I am told I am not as quiet anymore. My work honors my mother, who woke up one day with her husband and her entire family gone. If I may recount one story of my mom. My brother Edwin, who was 7, and unfortunately understood exactly what was happening, and who never complained or asked for anything despite these impossible living conditions, one day he said to my mom, "I am hungry." My mom went out on the street, took off a gold wedding ring, and traded it for a single egg. This award belongs to Mom. My mom lives here. Going to school now. My older brother Edwin became an electrical engineer, like his dad. My sister graduated from Yale Law School. What she does daily is cook and feed the hungry. While the pain can never be lifted, we try to make some sense out of our suffering. My family history went through my mind during the intervening hours after I threw out Kareem's letter. How can I not respond to this request for help? I reached into the trash can and took out Kareem's letter. My life has not been the same. Because of Margit and Pishka, I am here. So is my daughter Vanessa, and her 2 children, my grandchildren, Lucia, the older one, named after my mother, and Ava. My younger daughter Alexis, now be here because she has an infant son that she needs to take care of. His name is Jacob. After today. But there is more sense from the suffering of my family. Because out of 6 million Jews, I was somehow saved. I am here. We eventually exonerated Kareem Bellamy, who spent 14 years in prison for murder he had nothing to do with.
Stand up, Kareem. Kareem, stand up.
Last year, we had Robert Major, incredibly all in the same year. He was exonerated after 23 years, serving a 62 to life sentence.
Welcome home.
Kelly Cooper, where are you? 27 years in prison. Also, Jason Kendrick, who is not here, who's living in Georgia. who was exonerated after 27 years. I'm sorry to say that most of the injustices of wrongful convictions are not mistakes, but caused by prosecutorial misconduct. A recent study in Brooklyn found that 83% of wrongful convictions were caused by prosecutorial misconduct. Not a single prosecutor was named, no less disciplined in any way. We cannot remain silent. The commission bill is signed. It must be funded, and they have to be equipped to do their job so miscreants can be held accountable. My wife holds me accountable, so I shouldn't. Jonathan Hiles and I are working on the exoneration of Anthony Sims, who was in his 23rd year of imprisonment for 1998 Brooklyn murder. He had nothing to do with it. The evidence of his innocence is overwhelming. His wife, Keisha, is here today. The trial prosecutors in both Kelly Cooper's case and Anthony Sims is Mark Hare, who is the head of the conviction review unit. In both cases, he committed serious prosecutorial misconduct. It is not right. It's a conflict. There has to be an independent investigation by the commission that we have now enacted. Thank you, Bill. We cannot remain silent. Any help we can get from the political friends to make the Brooklyn CRU truly independent, similar to the Queen CRU, would be appreciated. Mr. Port is terrific. He has supported everything that we try to do. I've spoken to him on several occasions. I think he's more progressive than I am. We can also provide whatever material is requested that will show that Anthony is innocent. Finally, none of what I have been able to accomplish could have been done without co-counsel, my good young friend, Jonathan Hiles, hiding behind us. If you think I am good, Jonathan is strong, is younger, he's smarter, Harvard Law graduate, and more passionate, although it is a little quiet. Finally, in 1996, I won the lottery. I met my wife.
66. 66.
66?
Yeah, she ain't gonna miss that.
This happened, or could happen to anyone. It happened to you? We have been together for 55 years. We have worked together side by side on social issues for 50 years. She does it all. John L. Ganyard refers to her as the world famous Kathleen. We picked him up from prison about 2 weeks ago. We put him in the car, and he said, "How can I do to help? What can I do?" Kathleen is beloved by each of the exonerees. Thank you so much for the award. But this award does not belong.
Mr. Whitefire. I got the nice way. I totally get it. So, I don't know. It's a pretty tough act to follow. And it's just your history, Ted. Tells us a lot about why you are here and who you are. And you had mentioned the military. And that kind of leads into the nominee and recipient of the 2020 Ken Thompson Minister of Justice Award. We'll do 2021 awards after this. But the It Could Happen to You board has always had a lot of trouble finding incumbent DAs to nominate for the Ken Thompson Minister of Justice Award. The reason being, it's very difficult to find incumbent DAs that are truly progressive, that uphold the ethical standards of the American Bar Association, which, by the way, those standards are in the legislation for the Commission on Prosecutorial Conduct. It's one of the standards that prosecutors must hold to. But about 6 years ago, I had the opportunity to meet with Erie County District Attorney John Flynn in his office with one of our board members, L. Nathan Hare, at that time the director of the Western New York Community Services Administration. Nathan had been previously active in the movement to eliminate the death penalty in New York and in various other civil rights movements in New York. And we brought Nathan on the board for a reason. And one of the reasons was to build upon his grassroots community connections in Erie County and the city of Buffalo. And during that meeting with John Flynn, and he had just been elected, by the way, John, you were, as you called it, John said, I'm a new boy on the block and they don't like me already. So, and they didn't like him because he was talking about very progressive things and endorsing discovery reform. And he had brought on board Billy Culligan as his assistant. Billy was the former public defender for Cattaraugus County, and Billy was a true reformist. And when Billy was in the room with us, you know, every time we asked John what he was going to do, and John almost said no. Well, Billy said, you know, we'll consider it. John will consider this. John will consider this. So it was good, John, that Billy was there to speak for you. You had the right guy in the right room. Because Billy Culligan was at our very first summit on prosecutorial misconduct 12 years ago. And I asked John how he felt about the commission. And that's when he told me, you know, there's a few things that I'm concerned about in it, but I understand the need for transparency. I understand the need for investigation. And that's when he again said, but you know, I really don't want to bulk away from the DA's Association. You know, I'm just starting off. Well, you know, he's done a pretty good job because he's getting the award tonight. And he's also second vice president of the District Attorneys Association of New York. But one of the things that I do want to say is that we have had district attorneys that have thought that the commission was their worst nightmare. And really said some things about the commission that were not true. Okay. And I will acknowledge the fact that while John Flynn has had reservations, he's never really come out and attacked the commission personally. So sometimes, you know, saying nothing is as good as being for something. And speaking about military, one of the things that impressed us about John was that he was the naval attorney at the Pensacola Naval Air Station and was appointed the special U.S. attorney. He served as officer in charge of the Office of Legal Counsel at the U.S. Naval. D.A. Flynn was also awarded the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal and 2 Navy and Marine Corps commemorative medals. So John has not only served the public in terms of public safety, but he has served the country in a very high-ranking legal position. I'm going to, we're asking City of Hudson Alderwoman and Vice Chair, it could happen to you, to present the award tonight to Erie County District Attorney, the 2020 Ken Thompson Minister of Justice Award. And I want to mention the fact that John Flynn is the first acting district attorney to receive the Ken Thompson Minister of Justice Award.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here. I want everyone to understand that we are here in recognition and to celebrate, but we also have a responsibility. We all know someone in someone's family that just came home from prison that may need help, and that is our responsibility to lead them to organizations such as ours that can help them. It Can Happen to You is a national grassroots coalition of the wrongfully prosecuted and convicted defense lawyers, community organizations, unions, faith leaders, and other committed, integrity and confidence in America's criminal justice system. In 2017, It Can Happen to You established the annual Ken Thompson Minister of Justice Award, honoring the former Brooklyn, New York District Attorney for establishing his office as a national model for taking on the mighty task of overturning wrongful convictions, along with other progressive practices. In recognition of your intellectual and progressive commitment to criminal justice reform and maintaining the highest standards of justice, integrity, It Can Happen to You has nominated you for 2020 It Can Happen to You Ken Thompson Minister of Justice Award. Among the progressive practices we have evaluated in considering your nomination: number 1, establishing the Credible Conviction Integrity Unit, the CIU, that has produced 2 reversals of wrongful convictions. 2, a community dispute resolution program and the use of virtual media services during the pandemic and ensure the program. And number 3, using the diverse of alternative criminal proceedings for the first time for offenders and the implicit bias training. And we thank you for on behalf of It Can Happen to You, and we hope that you accept this award and join us across New York State with our leaders. Thank you.
Well, thank you all very much. I really, truly appreciate it, and I welcome you all from Buffalo, New York, which, by the way, is the home of this year's Super Bowl champions. Just so you know, right? Just to get that clear right now. Bill and Jeff, thank you very much for inviting me here and for presenting this award. You know, when I ran for district attorney in Buffalo in 2016, in the Erie County DA's office, there was no conviction integrity unit at all. None. Buffalo is the second largest city in this state. Now, I know most people from downstate here don't realize, think upstate is Albany, but upstate's Buffalo too, okay? And with the second largest city in New York, my county, my office, did not have any review at all. None. So when I won, and in 2017, one of the first things that I did was create not just, as I mentioned tonight, not just a conviction integrity unit, but a credible conviction integrity unit. A credible unit. Tiffany, you mentioned too, but we've had a pretty high profile one recently, where we're now up to 3. So let me tell you, in 2017, just after I first took over and I established a unit, Keanu Ricks. Mr. Ricks was convicted of a 2004 robbery. He was convicted based upon the testimony of the alleged victim in the crime, who was actually the mastermind behind the crime. Mr. Ricks spent 13 years in jail until we released him in 2017 and vacated his conviction. That same year, in 2017, Corey Epps. Corey Epps was convicted in Buffalo of a 1997 murder. Miss Means, Tamika Means, was shot in her car during a road rage incident in the city of Buffalo. Corey Epps was convicted on the basis of a single eyewitness. When we took over the case and looked at it, after he had been in jail now for 20 years, we showed with credible evidence that someone else committed that murder, and Mr. Epps was let out of jail. A lot of you may have heard of that last one we had in Buffalo, a gentleman by the name of Valentino Dixon. Now, Mr. Dixon has gotten a lot of publicity because when he spent 27 years in jail for a murder he did not commit. Mr. Dixon is an artist, and when he was in prison, he would paint pictures of golf courses. I'm a big golfer, and I found what he did to be fascinating. He was profiled on the Golf Digest magazine while he was in prison, telling them that he did not do it. And there was a group of undergrad students from Georgetown who found out about his case, and they brought it to my attention. So what we did in 2018 now, it's almost been 2 years now, we did a full-fledged reopening of that investigation, where we interviewed over 30 witnesses. We went through all the testimony, all the transcripts. We went through everything. And it turns out that the gentleman who actually committed the murder, he had admitted to it in the media like a week after the homicide. But the prosecutors in my office back in 1997 disregarded it, didn't believe it, and put this innocent man away in jail for 27 years. We exonerated him and we let him out. And he is now, if you Google his name, he recently sold artwork to President Obama. And, you know, he's a phenomenal artist who, again, paints golf pictures, which is near and dear to my heart. So, you know, I'll leave you with this. I meet with all the grand jurors after they're done with their service in Buffalo. So we have grand juries that come and go all the time. But when they finish, they have 7-week terms in Buffalo. 7 weeks is a long time to serve in a grand jury. And they sacrifice their time for 7 weeks to serve in my grand jury. When they're done, I meet with them in a group like this. And I thank them. I thank them for their service. I thank them for taking the time to do this. But most importantly, I thank them for helping the system, for ensuring that no one gets indicted who is not guilty. And I tell them, we live, or we need to live, in a society where it is much worse for an innocent person to go to jail than it is for a guilty person to go free. And I want to impart that on them when they leave. So when they go back to society, that they spread that word. So we all can live in a world where that is true. So again, as I thank my grand jurors for what they do, I thank you for what you do. I thank each and every one of you for, in your own way, what you do. Whether you're an assemblyman or whether you're a lawyer like Dan, whatever you do, each one of you has a part to ensure that justice is done and the right justice is done. And again, for that, I honor you and I thank you. God bless.
Okay. Well, I think Nathan here made the right recommendation. So we're going to move on now to the 2021 awards, and I'm going to be really quick here. But I just want to give Emmanuel Cooper. You got 5 seconds to say something about Tom.
Only 5 seconds. Only 5 seconds.
That's good enough for me. Going back to life. Yeah, man. He's going back to life after doing 27 years. I was dead.
Yeah.
His nickname is Superman.
Right. That's right. That's right. Perfect name.
Where's Robert Majors? Robert, you have something to say about
resurrected me. Nothing. Well, it's Catherine. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, now we're moving on to the New York State Senator Jamal Bailey Award is the 2021 Public Sector Servant of Justice, and we are going to do something that we've never done before because Jamal Bailey is someplace on the Senate floor or in the halls of the Senate or in Stuart Cousins' office being beaten down and told some way to vote. Not really. He's a very honorable guest. but he's been at the forefront, really, in the state Senate, a lot of progressive criminal justice reform. And we're going to ask the new president of the New York State Association of Criminal Justice Attorneys to accept the award on his behalf. He doesn't know this, but he will know it shortly. And Nada Cater, the president of Westpac, who was in Westpac represents all of Westchester County, and a portion of Senator Bailey's district is in Mount Vernon, New York. So I am going to, it's very unique and different.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you to ITCHY for organizing this evening. This is really important work. Yes, Senator Jamal Bailey has indeed been a friend to the social justice community. He was supportive of the bail reforms that we were all working on a couple of years ago, discovery, speedy trial reform. He's spoken out in favor of police accountability issues that so many of us have been very involved with, civilian oversight of law enforcement, de-escalation, how our responses to situations involving mental health. He's been a good representative of his community in the Bronx. He's remained true to his people in the Bronx, and he keeps it real, and he represents the interests of ordinary people. There are a lot of pressures once you become an elected, and sometimes our elected officials, they veer off and they start representing other kinds of interests, special interests, but he's been a true friend. So we're proud of him, and we thank him very much. I am disappointed today to learn that the elder parole and the fair and timely parole, it looks like it's not passing this legislative session. We had worked very hard on those issues. There's still a lot of aspects of our criminal justice system. You know, the social justice community has a very different vision of what we want to happen when there's harm that's been committed. And we still feel our criminal justice system is medieval. It's not just with wrongful convictions, although that is atrocious, and it breaks my heart to meet all these people this evening. Even just one day in jail being innocent is completely wrong. What to say of months and years of your life? It is just, I cannot express how I feel about that. But I'm so glad that you're out walking free now, and we cannot forget those who are inside. And we believe in restorative justice. We believe in transformative justice. We believe in shifting budget priorities so that every person has their needs met. So if we live in a society where we allow 30–40% of the population to live in poverty, of course we're going to have crime if people don't have the means to support their families. So we have a very holistic vision of what we want. And Senator Jamal Bailey is a friend to the social justice community, and we're very proud of him. And I'm very honored to be able to give you the award. Photo op, sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I of course stand in for Senator Bailey. Hi everyone, I'm Alice Fatu. I'm the current president of the New York State Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. I spent the prior few years leading the criminal practice at the Bronx Defenders. And in that role, I had the opportunity to work closely with Senator Bailey on a number of issues. And that continues in my role with the State Association. Senator Bailey is a Bronx born and bred resident. He still lives there, and unlike so many people, as was just mentioned, Jamal Bailey has never forgotten what life was like, what his community needs, the issues that plague the community on a daily basis, and he dedicates his work in Albany to getting into the nitty-gritty and the details to change the over-policing, the over-surveillance, the over-incarceration, so that we can hopefully have a system that does not need ITCHY. Sorry, wonderful organization, but if we ever, the goal obviously is to prevent wrongful convictions, and that requires a actual fair and just system that we do not have, that is very, very far away. But people like Senator Bailey have been making changes, fighting for justice, starting. Senator Bailey focuses much of his work on the juvenile system, which is where so much of this starts, trying to make changes there. He sponsored legislation, which should seem like a no-brainer, that we should not be prosecuting children at the age of 7 in the state of New York, raising that age. It's disgusting, I know, but it's still a fact. And from the juvenile system into our adult criminal system, as has been said, he has sponsored, championed criminal justice reform, discovery, bail, the things that have passed that are making a massive difference. He is fighting for less is more. Elder parole and fair and timely is unfortunate, but less is more did pass today on both houses. When you go so we will not be a state that is constantly incarcerating people for technical violations. And I just want to throw something out. At the beginning of the pandemic, Cuomo signed an executive order releasing people that were in prison and jails across the state on technical parole violations. 3,000 people got out that day. So this is not a small bill that passed. We are like mass incarcerating people for missing appointments. Senator Bailey has been a champion of legislation like this, and it is an honor to accept this award on his behalf. And hopefully I'll see him soon when it ends and give this to him. So thank you.
Well, thank you guys. It's going to be very interesting when we send Senator Bailey this video. So the next award is our 2020 Private Sector Service Trust Award, the first of two. And this award is going to Vocal New York. And actually, Nick Makulowski, who's the leader of Vocal New York, or the chief organizer, could not be here tonight. I didn't realize he was a parent, but apparently he's on parent leave until the middle of September. But Vocal New York brings people to Albany, to New York City Hall, to the streets of New York, and mass. I mean, what we need grassroots leaders, when we need block leaders, neighborhood block leaders, tenant union representatives, the very true grassroots that move the city of New York when change needs to occur. Vocal New York has been there, and they've been there the past 20 years. And I can submit to you that when we were pressuring Governor Cuomo in September of 2018, trying to convince him to sign the commission bill, Vocal was all over the boards. All right. And the campaign for discovery reform, they've been all over the boroughs. And I don't think they're very happy right now that elderly parole reform has been zero. Okay. And I'm sure this coming year, working with ITCHY and other organizations throughout New York State, we're going to make elderly parole reform happen. Okay. Because it can happen. And I would like to present this award. We're accepting Roger Begley. And Roger, just if you could just accept this award, tell us just about what Vocal has done briefly in the last year and what your experience with the justice system has been.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot. All right, no problem. First of all, thanks a lot for having me. It's a lot to take in. As far as what Vocal New York stands for, we fight for minorities, for ordinary individuals, for the poor, whether it be black or white. For the past year, we was part of the fight to bring marijuana justice to the state of New York. A lot of people get stopped. The police almost use every stop to claim that he smells marijuana. So now that's out of the system. We also recently passed a bill to halt the solitary confinement. Individuals that is placed into the system is placed in solitary confinement. I myself spent 5 years in solitary confinement. I did 15 years in state prison. And it's devastating. And I was wrongfully convicted. I'm still fighting with the Brooklyn District Attorney. There is still a lot that needs to be done. Right now, Boca is pushing a bill, a wrongful conviction bill, to make it easier for those who've been formally convicted to get into the court, to have an attorney, to have discovery, because it's hard to get discovery. You got to fill all type of paperwork, So it's for those that know the criminal penal law 440.10, we're going to modernize it and make it better. It didn't get passed this year, but we're going to get it done, hopefully. We're going to get fair parole and the parole and everything. We need to have a fair system. It's not right for individuals to go to jail for crimes that they didn't do. It's not right for prosecutors and police to cheat. It's not right for witnesses to lie in court and to give this false information to the jury. We need to address all of these and a whole bunch of other issues we need to address. Thank you.
Okay, our 2021.
Hi guys, it seems like it's frozen, but we'll wait till it comes back on. This has been extraordinary. The stories are just wow. And story of the Holocaust survivor who was a little boy, and him and his family were hidden, and they were out there, and because he was hidden, his father was killed, his brilliant father, who actually invented, I believe he said, a radio that's in a museum in Hungary. And he was hidden with his twin sister, I believe another brother, and his mother. And how his mother, one of his brothers said that he was hungry and said, the mother went out in the street and gave her wedding ring to get an egg. That's what it is when you suffer. It's quite an incredible story. And so he took it upon himself to be out there and to basically fight for people, for justice. What an incredible story. Here they are back.
And if you read the program, all that Oscar has done to free innocent men who lived in hell, and he returned them from hell to heaven, okay? Just as Tom Hoffman did. So to present this award tonight, I have the honor of asking David.
just want to say something. I just want to say something thirdly before I present my dear friend Oscar. Since my exoneration on October 15th, 2014, I've been to many events, I've spoken at many events, and I can tell you it never gets old, and the emotions never go away. When Jeffrey Deskovich contacted me a few days ago and asked me would I be available to be a co-presenter of this award for Oscar, there was no way I could turn it down. Because you see, Oscar was not my attorney. He is my friend too. I have the honor of meeting his family. I love those guys. They've been always real to me. They continue to be. And I appreciate that. I also want to thank Oscar, of course, many others who were involved in my particular case, for saving me and for saving my life. Because without his participation, I really couldn't tell you if I'll be anything, one way or the other. So for me, to be standing here and in position to present this award to Oscar, I cannot say enough for what he has done and continue to do for me when I need him. And I just want to say, Oscar, thank you.
Before you talk, you're a lawyer. Okay. And like Tom Kaufman, Tom promised to be brief, and he wasn't very brief. But we have somebody else in this room. Ant-Man, Big Anthony DeFebo.
A lot of you people know who I am. For those that don't, I did 20 years old, convicted for rape, murder, and intimate. Oscar Michelin has now represented my co-defendant, Andrew Kuback, an innocent man, wrongfully convicted. Thankfully, with his help, we got him home, and he's on house arrest. We're fighting for his total exoneration. And one of the things that a prosecutor can do to let you know how great your lawyer is to try to dismiss. This man has such great passion, great love, and once he believes you're innocent, he fights tooth and nail to make sure you are proven innocent. And this September 13th, we're going to have a trial in Putnam County, New York. Oscar Michelin is going to defeat Bob Tendy, the district attorney. And it's an ego thing for him. It doesn't matter to us. We just have to get him home. And this man is a hero to me. And, you know, when they told me about him coming on the case, I remember I was in Tennessee and I was fighting for another man out of Brazil, who we actually got home with the WWE guys. I remember getting the phone call saying Oscar Michelin has took the case. And I remember this man is my friend. You know, I remember when I was a kid, I used to look up to lawyers as parent figures, but now I see a brother. And it's an honor to have you. It really is a privilege to have walked the walls of Albany with you. And now to see you bring my co-defendant home, innocent, game over. I just want to say, listen, Oscar, I love you. Hopefully we have to hear in 3 months. Okay, there we go. No pressure, no pressure. Not a problem. Thank you all very, very much. I really, truly appreciate this. You know, first of all, following a lawyer's lawyer, someone who I admired
as the consummate professional, a real champion, Tom Hoffman. It's an honor to be the subsequent recipient of this award every time. And keep up the fantastic work that you do. But the fact is that, yes, we do this work for individuals, but the reality of it is that it's the systemic change that has to happen because there's only so many cases, we can work on. So it's extremely important that organizations like Vocal, Senator Bailey, DA Flynn, etc., are part of it because that's really the effective change that can be made. And actually, I think DA Flynn had the biggest surprise tonight. I went to school in Buffalo, DA Flynn, and he announced that the next Super Bowl champion is going to come from Buffalo, and I had not heard that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were moving to Buffalo. I mean, I'm a Giants fan, but they still got Tom Brady, so that's going to be big news. But these organizations are the ones that can make the difference. Someone like Ken Thompson, for example, can really revolutionize the prosecutor's office to be progressive. When we were adversaries, actually, we became friends. And when he was running, I said to him, no DA has ever been elected on a platform of giving more rights to the criminally accused. That's just never happened. But he did it. And he started a lawful conviction unit that remains the model, the way that he started it and the way that he developed it. And really only in Philadelphia have we seen anything of its kind. I'm glad to hear that there's one developing in Buffalo here as well. So that's really what I want to honor, the folks that are making that kind of systemic change. And obviously, all of us here pale to the people in this room who served all this time, who add up the time that was lost by the man in this room. It should give you enough passion and energy to continue to do this work. Obviously, I don't do it alone. I'd like to thank my law firm is here, my partner Matt Cuomo, one of those lawyers and staff are here. My long-suffering wife is here, and two of my three sons are here as well as other friends and associates of mine. So I get a lot of energy from the work that all of you do. It's just wonderful to be a part of the organization, and it's wonderful to be a part of this crowd. And I know that we'll continue to fight for all the other men and women who have never gotten their day in court and make sure that they get justice. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Oscar. And Oscar, thank you for being brief and recognizing it's getting late in the night. It's how brilliant you are. Oh, by the way, there's somebody here I've got to acknowledge. That's longtime It Could Happen to You board member, Stephen Downs, who helped author the commission bill. Steve, we might invite everybody here to our annual ITCHY retreat at your camp this coming September. The final award of the evening is the 2021 Ken Thompson Minister of Justice Award, which is being presented to Charles Linehan. Now, I never knew anything about Charles until none other than the Tom Hoffman, It Could Happen to You board member, said, this guy Charles was not only a former Manhattan prosecutor who didn't break the rules, which is very important because it's very rare, but also has since started up a defense unit, criminal defense unit, and a private investigation unit to reverse wrongful convictions. This is a first. We've never had a recipient of an award present an award to another recipient, but because Tom Hoffman's such a very unique individual, we decided that he would set this new trend for it to happen to you. So Tom, if you could have the honor of presenting this award, show us right hand, and tell us why he was so important, both as a prosecutor and in the Queen's cases.
I met Mr. Lenahan when I met Mr. Lenahan. It's not about me, son. All right. I met Mr. Lenahan while we were on the legal team trying to exonerate 3 people. George Bell, Gary Johnson, and Rohan Bolt, who were in prison 23 years for something they had nothing to do. The Queen's prosecutor suppressed evidence that murder, the check cashing place, and a cop who was working as a security officer, they suppressed evidence that Speedster, another gang, had committed this crime. We didn't know this at the time as we started. This is what I knew. We were meeting diligently every Friday. We were exchanging probably thousands.
Just hold on. Hopefully they'll come right back. This is the last award, and then we'll close with Jeffrey. So I'm texting. Hold on. Wow. I mean, it's just, I'm just speechless from what I have heard, what these men have gone through. One was on death row. They had made arrangements for his what would happen with his body after he was killed, and they asked him what his last meal should be, and he was going to be executed within 72 hours, and he was freed. It was an amazing story, and we're going to interview all these people. We're going to have them on. We're going to learn about it. But you heard these professionals. You heard them, how much prosecutorial misconduct there is, how intentional. It's prosecutorial misconduct. And think of how many people, how many lives have been ruined, not saved, how many people sitting in jail, young people, children, teenagers. It's just unbelievable, but it didn't have to be this way. If the system was run correctly, if those offices, the Judicial Ethics Committee and the Attorney Ethics Committee was run correctly, that would prevent a lot of corruption and misconduct in the courts, because they are there to police the courts, and they are there to police the judges and the attorneys and the prosecutors. So when they're engaging in misconduct, you should feel confident in the fact that you have an attorney ethics, a disciplinary committee that you can turn to, or a judicial ethics committee that you can turn to so that the corruption, the abuse, the misconduct will stop in the courthouse. And but what happens is, if those offices are compromised, when you seek redress from them, they will protect the wrongdoing, the criminal behavior, the misconduct, and they will target you for exposing it and silence you. And it's very easy to do. A lot of the people that work in those offices are, are good. They have no idea how it's run. It's like being on an airplane. If the pilot is rogue, the people are trusting that the pilot is experienced, is competent, and is not going to engage in malicious conduct. So they're trusting the people who work at the disciplinary committee. There's a lot of lawyers. The people who work at the judicial ethics committee. There's a lot of people that work there, and they think they're doing a good job. But if you put compromised people in positions of power within those offices who will decide which cases to prosecute, which people to investigate, which ones to dismiss, well, then they could target and they can protect, and it becomes a weapon. And we see that. We've seen that with President Trump. We see that right now, what's going on with Giuliani. We see that in so many ways. And so think about it. If those offices are compromised, then you can have any criminal network happening in the courthouse. If they get a budget of at least $2 billion in New York, really with no meaningful oversight over it at all. So they have access to tons of money. Plus, each case is very valuable when people's lives are on the line, the children are on the line. What are people willing to do to get out of trouble, to get their child back, to hurt someone else through the system? There's so much incentive for corruption and abuse. And the pay is low for the clerks and even the judges. So there's incentive to take bribes the way it is. And the judges are either directly or indirectly amenable to the politicians that put them in. They care more about the politicians, the donors, the law firms, because they're not choosing judges from a variety of meritorious places. They're not going through a training to become a sexual abuse judge, a child abuse judge, or a mental health judge. You're getting lawyers that are involved with campaigns directly or indirectly, and involved with the politics. And then they get chosen, and the election is de facto. People vote according to party lines. So all they have to do is be chosen, selected, or a mayor can put them on the bench, or a governor can put them on the bench. And it's completely politicized. So you're really getting, all the judges that we have are really from the fabric of either amenable directly or indirectly to the political system. So there's no separations of powers. They're all coming from that same rotting stump, which is this stump of political actors that become DA, that become governor, that become judges, that become, and they're all answer to the donors and to the political machine. So they're all protecting each other, protecting their careers. And if we chose judges, even in the Supreme Court of the United States, millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars are raised, and senators and organizations with political motivations have to agree to these nominees. And then there's no oversight. There's no meaningful oversight, even over the Supreme Court justices who are there for life. How could they have no oversight? They are the most sought after justices. People will do anything to sway the nation and the cases that are before it. You don't know if they acquire wealth or favors or anything. There's just no meaningful oversight at all. There's no place to even go to complain about those justices. You're not going to get oversight from the Congress, that's for sure. So, which we saw is completely weaponized. So, I believe that we should choose judges based only on merit, that they cannot be amenable directly or indirectly, that they should be well trained on the issues that they are going to rule on, and that they should be knowledgeable and experienced. You have judges, they're put into commercial litigation, then they're switched to mental health and criminal. I mean, it's a joke. You're playing with people's lives. And then they become these mental health experts, and they're not experts, and they have destroyed lives. And there's a lot of money, there's institutions, there's supervised visitation centers that you send people to at $90 an hour or so. There's no end in sight to the amount of money, the amount of incentive for corruption, and the fact that they are amenable directly or indirectly to the political machine. It's just over the top. So I don't know if they are coming back on, because I guess they're having some technical difficulties, but it was really a phenomenal insight into the system tonight. I mean, we saw the lawyers that are fighting. We saw people who are even in the system, DA, trying to make a difference. I mean, there are good people within the system, but it's against all odds to do what's right. But we still have to fight. We still have to try. And I am so impressed, and I can't wait to present the shows with these men, both the professors involved, the politicians involved that are trying to make a difference, Jeffrey Deskovic, the 11 men that he exonerated, the other people, the attorneys. I mean, they are extraordinary. You know what I think life is? I think life is, we are all in the Olympics. Okay, that's what I think life is. I think this world is beautiful, but also it's very shattered. It's in pieces. There's so many needy people. There's the elderly. There are children. They're vulnerable, and it's up to us. If there's a higher power and we're here, it's up to us to fix and help the world, to help people more needy than us. People, we're here to right the wrongs. We're here to work on our character. We're here to develop ourselves. I think we are in the spiritual Olympics. That's what I think we're in, and we are all part of it, and we all have different roles to play. And the problem is when people forget that they're only here for a short time period, and they are vulnerable, and they get caught up with nonsense, that they want some money or they want some careers, and they don't realize all this is meaningless in the end. The guy was in the Holocaust. They lost everything. These guys were in jail for crimes they didn't commit. They lost everything. They only wanted freedom. See, things are priceless in life. Freedom is priceless. Without freedom, you have nothing. You have nothing. And you can't have freedom unless you have security in your country, and you have integrity in the election, and you have people that are not operating in a politicized manner, and that the offices have oversight, because we're all human, and all human beings need oversight. No matter what, they need oversight. Doesn't matter if they're the nicest person on earth. The more power they get, the more responsibility they have, and the more oversight that's needed. And it has to be transparent, because that's the way it goes. But the point is, there are priceless things in this life. Priceless, like your children, they're priceless. Your health, it's priceless. Your eyes, your heart, your lungs, they're priceless. There's priceless things: happiness, love, freedom, justice. and pursuing justice. It's priceless. There is so it's absolutely that's what it's all about, life, and that's what we're all here for. So your comments, very nice. It was a privilege to hear their voices tonight. The professor's book, Prosecutorial Misconduct. You could also, Jeffrey Deskovic is on Instagram, and you could, text me. I'll find out specifically. It was probably on Amazon. Let's see. We are all here to help one another for sure. Yeah, but we're here we're here in the Olympics, the spiritual Olympics, like when you lift weights, you keep wanting to do progressive overload to see if you can build muscles. When you are lifting your spiritual levels, you want to challenge yourself, your anger, your intentions, who you are, to be the best person you can be. To be the best person you can be. So you left it all on the field and you did everything. And that's what was so inspiring here. These people know what's priceless and they are here to leave it all on the field. So I really thank you all. It was a long night, but it was worth it. And thank you so much for joining us.